Have you ever wondered how to get your product or service into one of those coveted gift guides or best product lists? Nothing moves your business and revenue more than getting into even just one of these game changing lists. So, this episode is all about how to get your business featured in a gift guide or a product guide. This is a question I guess asked all the time from both service providers, coaches, consultants, and my founders who make physical products, right? They say that they are getting ready for the holiday season and they really want to make sure that they set themselves up for success to get featured, especially around Q4. Now, we know that Q4 is the biggest buying season, but before I get into this episode on how to get into a gift guide and the different types of gift guides and timelines, I want you to keep one thing in your mind, which is there are opportunities for PR all year round. And what you pay attention to grows. So make sure that you keep an open mind and know that although Q4 is the biggest buying season, there's no shortage of times and seasons that you can pitch to get featured, right? Whether it's Mother's Day or sustainability gifts for Earth Day or Father's Day, or even gifting a training or a book to a new grad around graduation, the more you keep an open mind and know that the world is your oyster when it comes to opportunities, the more these opportunities will flow your way. You're probably going to want to grab a pen and paper because I'm going to run through quickly one-on-one about gift guides and the most commonly questions that I get asked about getting into one. So, if you listen to this podcast for a while or you've been in my PR starter pack, you know that my proprietary CPR pitching method, that stands for credibility, point of view, and relevance, right? That is usually not about selling your product. And in fact, I always say on my masterclass that you really need to give value as opposed to just giving the journalist the same thing that you would tell like an advertiser or a newsletter for marketing, right? Because journalists are not going to buy your products. But when you are pitching a product guide or a gift guide, you do have a little bit more wiggle room to focus more on what you're selling. That doesn't mean that you should be salesy, because remember, the more you come off as salesy and you give the journalist a product catalog or a coupon code, the more they're going to ignore you and tell you to either buy an ad or they're going to be turned off because you're using them as a vehicle for free advertisement. So even though the journalist is not blind to the fact that you want to sell more product, because we're all in business, right? You want to still lead with value. You still want to give an angle to pitch. What does that mean, right? Things that you can pitch is highlight why your product is different and not giving them an order form or a brochure of all of your products, but pick the one that is most relevant to right now. So if you are pitching something in Q4 and you do skincare products, it might be about winter eczema or winter skincare, right? If you do something that has to do with travel or summer or something like that, then it might be something around minis or TSA approved things. So think about the season and the holiday that you're pitching and pick a product that's best for that. If you try to pitch all of your products, then it's really just going to turn the journalist off because, again, you do not want to give them an entire product brochure. So maybe pick one or two bestsellers or one or two products that really relate to the season and holiday that you are pitching. And I know it's hard because all of your products are your babies, right? You want all of them to win. But if you want to push all of them, then it's really not going to appeal to anyone. So you really want to speak very specifically about what is the product that you're pitching and why it's unique, right? What is the trend that's happening? So that's just one thing is you still, even though you're pitching a product, you need to have an angle. In terms of timeline for pitching, this is another FAQ I get asked all the time. People are wondering, what time should I start pitching? When is it too late? When is it too early? And the answer is there is no crystal ball, right? We don't have the editorial calendar of an outlet, but here are some general rules to follow. So national magazines have the longest lead time, right? You should pitch these in about 6 months in advance. So what I'm talking about here, it's mostly print publications, right? So if you want to get into a Christmas gift guide, you're probably going to want to start pitching in June. Now, if it's something that's a daily publication, like a local newspaper or a website that publishes digital articles daily, like a Forbes or a Refinery or a Well and Good, which is ding, 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 90% of our founders in the PR starter pack, right? Then you have a little bit more wiggle room. So, in terms of getting onto a digital publication, and I recommend everyone to get onto a digital publication because that is searchable. It's SEO, it's driving traffic back to you. There's backlinks. So, think about that. So, focus on digital publications, right? Digital publications can be shareable. You can create content, reels, blogs in a way that being in print, you can't really, right? Because it's not really shareable. So let's talk about 90% of what I get asked all the time, which is a digital publication. So some journalists that write for digital publications like a BuzzFeed or a Forbes or a Fast Company, a Lower Well and Good, they say that even September to pitch for a gift guide might even be too early, right? But again, there's no hard and fast rule. I definitely think that if you're pitching for a Christmas gift guide in August, it's a little too soon, but I think September is a great time for you to visit this podcast, to learn the methods, maybe get into our PR starter pack and start fleshing out your pitch so that come October, you'll be in a great position to pitch confidently. So September is when you should definitely be switching gears, thinking about your angle, your pitch, your subject lines, getting that totally dialed in so that October and November, you are in heavy pitching mode. So that's pitching in email, pitching in DM, and doing your necessary follow up so that you can keep getting to the top of their inbox. Journalists know that this time of year, they are flooded with pitches. They know that they're getting pitches left and right from founders, their assistants, aggressive PR agencies. So just know that you're competing with very aggressive people who are going to be really pushy. So don't worry about pissing them off. For a lot of founders, I know it's really hard to even press the first send button. So I want my founders who are everyday small business heroes, maybe just starting this for the first time, to lean into confidence and be persistent. Think of it as planting a garden, right? You want to plant your seeds early, you want to cultivate them, you want to nurture them. You never know what will sprout or what's going to bear fruit, but you have to plant those seeds early and often. I have yet to talk to a journalist who said that they've blacklisted somebody or blocked somebody. That's very rare, actually, because in the world of journalism, they understand that pitching is how people get featured. They understand that they get pitches left and right. And that's how journalism is, right? Journalism is not dead. People are looking for different stories, different subjects to interview. That's just how it is, right? They just understand that they're going to get pitches, especially around the Q4 holidays. So that is what I have to say about timing. Now, another thing you should know is that on episode 1 of this podcast, which is the very first episode I recorded of this small business PR podcast, I interviewed my friend Margot Lushing, who is a freelance writer for Forbes, Refinery, SF Chronicle, Brides, and she writes gift guides, right? She loves to cover female founders and travel and beauty and wellness. And she says that she sometimes is looking for last minute stories even 2 weeks before Christmas. Now, think about it this way. How many times have you been very last minute to get that Christmas gift for the person you love? I know I've been there and I've been guilty of it. So there's always an opportunity for you to still get featured in a last minute gift guide, even if you pitch in November and December. Now, I'm not recommending that with everything you have going on in your business to wait until that time. But don't think that just because October has passed, then you've missed a boat. I can't tell you how many features and articles I see, which is last minute gift guides. And Margot even told me on the podcast episode, which is episode 1 of this podcast, if you go to gloriachowpr.com/1, you can listen to it. She says that sometimes she is tasked with all these last minute gift guides and she is still writing gift guides even 2 or 1 week before Christmas. So it happens, my friends, and there's opportunities year round. Okay, let's move on. Another thing I get asked all the time when it comes to getting into gift guides or product guides are samples, right? Do I send my sample? How much do I send? What if I can't send a sample? So here's what I have to say about samples. Here at GCPR, we're all about organic earned media. So I don't teach my PR starter pack founders that the only reason that they're going to get featured is by giving product to the influencer of the week, right? You really have to lean on your pitch. And if you have a newsworthy pitch, you don't need to be giving tons of product away for free because let's be honest, we don't have money or budget for that, right? At least not my audience of really scrappy, visionary, and bootstrapping entrepreneurs. So here's what I have to say about samples. If your product is low cost to you to give a sample, whether it's a mini size or a trial size, go ahead and in your email that you're pitching, It's a really great closer to say, hey, this is my best selling product, and I would love to give you a sample so you can experience why this would be perfect for your audience this holiday season. Please let me know the address where to send it to. Boom. It's a great way to finish the email. It doesn't make you sound desperate. It's a confident way to get them to say yes or no. And here's another thing about pitching, which you might have heard is the point of the pitch is not the story. You're not writing the story and outlining the article in your pitch. The whole entire point of the pitch is to get the journalist to make a decision. Yes, I want more information. No, not right now. That's it. Don't think about 5 steps ahead. Just think about the next step. And what I teach in my PR starter pack is getting founders confident to write that first pitch, that first newsworthy pitch that's going to get them that one yes. Because if it's one thing I've learned helping thousands of founders is that press begets press. It's that one domino that seems to just pick up so much momentum for your business, and you're just going to open up an entire sea of opportunities, right? So that's what I mean by samples. Another thing about samples is if you make something that is very expensive or maybe not able to be shipped or sampled, whatever the reason, you can still give the person on the other side of the inbox a way to experience it. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a reel, maybe they're beautiful, high quality resolution photos or a visual narrative that you worked on. Send them a link to that. Just because you can't send people a sample doesn't mean that you don't deserve to pitch. And it definitely doesn't mean you won't get featured. So I have had people in my starter pack successfully get featured without sending anything. And I've also had people send like a link to a video or even your most popular trending reel that visually tells the story of how beautiful your product is, especially if it has really beautiful packaging, right? If your product is something that needs to be seen to be experienced and you're super proud of the aesthetics, then give them a link to a high resolution photo. And I know I usually say don't add any attachments. It's going to trigger the spam filter. This is kind of one exception to that rule. So, this is a one exception where you can actually add one photo to the email. I don't recommend you adding a really big attachment. It's going to trigger their spam filter and you're not going to get your email's not going to get open. And if your email doesn't get open, there is no chance that you'll get featured, right? So, we're all about getting those open rates up. And I talk a little bit more in my PR starter pack about how to do that exactly. But back to samples. So, you can either embed one photo, right, in the email if it's visually stunning, and then give them other links to kind of entice them. So, I'm not saying you can't send any photos, but I probably wouldn't do more than one. Again, it's about the attachment size. If you have a website that you're really proud of, right? And on the website, there's videos, there's gorgeous photos and packaging, then just embed that link in a hyperlink. You can say, here is the photo of this best-selling product. Like, here's a link for it, and I would love for you to check it out. Or here is this. Here's a video of me demoing this product that went viral on TikTok for X, Y, and Z reason, and even today it's getting viral views. Here is the link, right? Journalists love a good TikTok or Instagram demo video. It just brings a story to life. And just because you have a product, no matter how boring or basic it is, it's always a story and there's always a reason to show it off. So that's what I mean about attachments. Now, moving on, in terms of how to write the pitch, the timing, the subject lines, sending samples, I go way more in depth in my actual PR starter pack, where a really big chunk of it is teaching founders exactly how to land gift guides, right? We have actual worksheets, templates, step by step, but most importantly, I've built in an updated media database where you can access hundreds of journalists who write gift guides in every industry. So whether it's tech gadgets or Father's Day gifts or parenting books or wellness or beauty things, I have something in there for you. And that's going to save you tons of time Googling and not finding the right contacts. It's really just a numbers game from there on out. You can go to prstarterpack.com to find out why founders love it and why people are raving about it in our Facebook group. So here are a couple bonus tips before I sign off. So bonus tip 1 is that you can always kindly ask the journalists who have covered a gift guide last year if they're going to do it again this year. So you might be doing searches on the interwebs if you're not in the PR starter pack, trying to gather contacts in a very grassroots way. And if you just read some of their previous articles and it seems that they have written a gift guide you would love to be in, it's as easy as emailing them again and saying, hey, I loved your product roundup you did for last year's like fashion trends or last year's, you know, gifts for the pet lover, whatever it is, are you writing it this year? Right? It's like simple yes or no, and it's a no pressure way of connecting with them and getting to know them and getting the conversation started. Now, here is another tip for you before I sign off. So, you want to do your slight research. I don't mean spend hours on every single journalist, but just do a slight research. And before you pitch to them, just make sure that you're aligned with them. What do I mean by that? I mean that you wouldn't want to pitch your beef jerky or your entire leather bag brand to someone who is an animal activist or a vegan, right? It's just something very simple. Now, I know the chances of you offending someone is very low, but it doesn't take very much for you to just do a quick search to see what they cover. Oftentimes, on their LinkedIn or Instagram, they have a short bio section where they talk about who they are and their interests. So that's really easy. It's all public information, right? A lot of times on Twitter and LinkedIn, they're great ways to know a little bit more about that journalist before you pitch to them. Now, obviously, if you're in the PR Starter Pack, I have all of this laid out for you, including their email, their Instagram, their DM, their about section, where they are, what they write for. So that's all done for you. But if you're doing it on your own, just make sure that you do a little bit of research so that you know that this journalist is highly likely to receive your pitch. Now, if you know anyone who can benefit from the tips that I've shared or is trying to get more confident to get that journalist to say yes so that they can go bigger with their message and get their business featured, please rate and review this podcast. It's going to allow people like you to discover the show and get the benefits from the tips and value that I share. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you next week.